Okay. So we don't want to be in the sheet file. We want to get out of the sheet file and go into, we can go back into our 3D view. Okay. You know, this is where we can start to do a couple things. So this is where, we can start adjusting. So the ability to modify duct routing, aligning ducts, check the system, and then add a color scheme, okay? Create a sheet layout, which we did already. Inspect the system, which we'll do. Create a 3D view, which we did already. And then creating a zone color scheme. So basically, we're going to make a color scheme that allows us to understand the CFM, the airflow of our system. So this will be another drawing that we're going to add. And what we can do is, again, so what I'm showing you here in this first part is like modifying the route. This is where we can come manually and moving it. I do not recommend you move it in 3D because you can really mess it up and move it in 3D in a Z direction. So if we go to a plan, in this case, we can see this in our plan. We can adjust the route by moving it. So if we wanted to move tighter, so I'm just picking this and dragging it. So if I wanted to move that, I know that's flexible. Can probably do that. We can move things to a certain point. So we can start manipulating. Now if we start moving things that are connected with a T, they're going to move together. Okay. I'm in first floor actually. So you're going to go where it says here, yours says course, or it's just a little box. You want to switch that to fine. No, the one to the left. If you hover over that, it'll say course, medium, fine. Switch it to fine. So make sure everybody does that, alright? Because when we make the ductwork schedule, we're going to need to see it that way. Okay. And then again, you probably want to double check to see what you're doing, in the sense of a 3D view. You can see things are still working. Now, like I said, we can still come in and move connections. If I pick the ductwork, you get these ends. You get these sort of like little dots. If we drag those and actually drag them along the line, they're going to separate. Okay? But if we come here and pick our other piece and drag, we can reconnect it typically to the ductwork. It's a little tricky to do, but you can do it. So we cannot, we can also move, other connections, but if you're missing a piece, you have a break in the system. You're gonna have to. So if like you're missing this guy completely, like so, we have the ability to go under our systems, and then we can add, if we have our flex duct, we can trigger it there and trigger it to there. Right now it's going to put it, let's see if it puts it in the right spot. No, it didn't create it. We have to pick the right flex duct. So sorry to go back. So flex duct, yeah, undo is undo. Control Z. So we have different flex ducts. So we'll pick round flex. And again, I'm snapping to that point there. And we have automatic connect, so it's going to try to automatically connect it. Now the problem is it's not sized properly by default. So if we select this all again, we can again resize it. It should update. So there's the right size. So you can manually tie the stuff together. You can manually add ductwork to other ductwork. Alright? But I'm trying to keep it simpler. You know, lay it out, let it build. If you delete something on accident, it's not the end of the world. So that is sort of step one, modifying the duct route. The other thing is we can start aligning the duct route. So we can, again, this is sort of maybe something we don't really need to do, but I can pick my ductwork, deselect the air terminals, probably deselect also the flex duct, and then we have our we have edit, so we have justification, so we can like justify the ductwork to align. So if you see the example there, like center, top, bottom.
What am I checking it do? It's still there, it's just not showing anymore?
So I'm highlighting with the tab key, but I want to take away the diffuser and the flexible, because I want to start aligning the metal, the sheet metal. So I just want sheet metal. So if I go to filter, I can take away the air terminals and then take away the flexible ducts, and then hit OK. And then I can say justify, and it'll give me options. Like right now it's in the center. We can push it to the top center and then say finish. And it just made everything try to go to the top, to a point, to where it can. Okay, so we're justifying everything, in this case, to the top.
Can you move your return like that if you decide you don't like it right
So if I came here now and started pushing this, it's gonna, because it's a flexible duct, it'll move with it.
you can't move the whole return system?
To some point you can, but yeah, like these connections are going to be problematic. So you probably might have to remake. If it's flexible, you can take it to to a point. But if I try to move like that bottom piece, it's probably not gonna. It's gonna break. So if I try to move this,
No, I meant the
like this one might be able to. Well, the problem is the connection. So if we go to a 3D view, you're talking about this top piece there.
the top and the whole line, below it, that one.
Yeah, so it's going to break here. So I'm using the control key to add.
Because I don't like the side that mine is on, I wanted to switch it.
So if I start doing that, it's doing it, but you see it broke there, but I didn't move it the right way. So that's why you can't move stuff in 3D. So I can select it. My opinion is try it. If it breaks, you got to redo it. You got to delete it and redo it. There's a point where, if I try to move that now, so under modify, we go to modify, and if I try to move this, it's moving the equipment, so it's tied together. It's not going to let us move it. It'll move the equipment before it moves that branch. So you have to remake it because it's not going to make a new joint where there isn't one.
I really, now that I looked at it in 3D, I really
So this is where you want to make sure you do that when you're generating the system, you know. So when you're working with just simple lines. I know it might not be obvious, but that's why sometimes you got to delete it and remake it. So that was step number 2. So step number 3, like you might have not seen errors, but you might have errors all of a sudden because you move stuff around. So we can do a couple of things to check that. So we can select the duct system, and then under Analyze, where there's Check System, there's Check Duct System. So under Analyze, so you select the whole duct, and then you go to Check Duct System. For some reason, if it's broke, it'll tell you. So if I click on, if you see nothing happen, see I already have an error. So by me over tooling it, something got disconnected. So here's my warning. So somehow by me sort of moving it around too much, we end up getting disconnected at our terminals. And it looks like that happened right there. See how it broke?
Why isn't there a color layer?
I don't know. It's just telling you like, hey, you're. I mean, typically, so yeah, me just moving it around just really destroyed the connection. So So my advice is, if you don't move them around, like if you try to get it right with the line geometry. So let's go back. So if I come here, select the entire thing. Again, go to Filter. Deselect the air terminals. Delete it. We remake it. You know, if we edit it here, and then we generate it, size it, reselect it, go to Analyze, check the system. We're not going to get any errors. Okay. Once you start sort of tweaking it, over tweaking it, you're going to break it at some point. So if that happens and you liked what you saw, I would delete it, redo it based on just moving those lines, right? So how do you tweak it without moving ductwork? So Analyze, check duct system. Nothing shows up, you're fine. Yeah, if nothing happens. If you don't get these little warnings. And I'll show you guys next week some other tricks. Especially, I want to see like what happens with the project. I can show you a lot of things, but I want to see the issues you guys are going to have. So next week, I think we'll start the session with like Q&A, like so people can learn from other people's mistakes, like what happened, and I'll try to replicate it. Okay. How about this? Let's take a short break, and we'll go to step 4, which is going to be making color schemes. All right. And then once we're done with that, we'll look at generating using a VAV box. We'll introduce 2 systems in here, because that's what most likely you're going to be doing for your project. Okay.